A sneak peek for the media at Tar Heels practice on Thursday, and boy, this team has better size and spacing.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, October 10th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch to get your weekend going the right way. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like the Tar Heel players, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Want to welcome in all the everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, as well as our Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. The links for both of those are in the show notes. Let's get after it. Joining me on the show today, RL Bynum, our guy from Tar Heel Tribune. It's been a busy week for RL and all those on the Tar Heel beat between the women at ACC Tip-off, the men at ACC Tip-off, getting a glimpse at practice, all the hubbubaloo of the football team and all that wackiness, which we're staying away from today because we're sick and tired of talking about it, RL. And so it's great to have RL with us. He's coming to me on Thursday evening before his beloved Cubbies get going. RL, best of luck in that series. Game 4, trying to even it up, right?
Right. I'm hopeful, but as a typical Cubs fan, I'm pessimistic.
Stay away, Steve Bartman. We don't need you tonight. All right. So here's where RL and I are going to go first. The media was treated to about 18 minutes of practice on Thursday. By the way, I'll go ahead and plug RL's got the whole thing up on his YouTube channel. I'm going to link that in the show notes, by the way. So if you want to watch that while we're talking or whatever, you can go find that and tap right in. RL's done a great job with that. He got the blue and white scrimmage up last week. RL, are you going to do that for the Cherokee one as well?
That's my plan.
Okay. So we'll be on the lookout for all that. So RL, you had mentioned to me both from ACC Tip-off and then from what you saw today, it really feels, all the storyline about the size difference of this team, man, you got a firsthand look at that today. Does it feel real to you?
Yeah, and really, it looks like this is a team that's going to be moving the ball really well, creating a lot of spacing. The main drill that they did with 5-on-5 was a half-court drill where they were working the ball around quickly, setting up for a three-pointer, setting up for a drive, and creating spacing. What we saw was 25 minutes of practice, but the first 7 was stretching, which was not that exciting.
That doesn't do it on YouTube, RL. That doesn't do it on YouTube.
Yeah, I did not put that on the YouTube video. But, Hubert Davis was in control, yelling a bit at midcourt. I'd lose my voice if I was yelling as loudly as he was for as long as he was. And then if you look at the video during that half-court drill, at one point, Hubert stopped everything and goes right in the middle and explains what they were doing wrong and explains what he wanted to do and kind of demonstrates it. So that was interesting. But before the half-court drill, they had the big men on one side, and Sean May was working with him. And on the other side, the wings and the guards, and Marcus Page and Pat Sullivan were working with them. A lot of what the work with Marcus and Sullivan was working on pick and pops with the guards and the wings, and working off screens and that sort of thing. And then on the other side, working on inside positioning, and they did a lot of work going strong on dunks. I'm not sure why they need to practice that, but they were doing that a lot. And then some short baseline shots of about 5 or 6 feet. Okay. Not that it's a big deal because he's not going to play much, but Ivan Malikovic wasn't a full participant. Even in the stretching, he was on the exercise bike, and I didn't see him participating in any other drills.
Right. Yes. And he was one of the 3 that didn't play in the blue-white scrimmage last week. There was a report from John Rothstein on Wednesday that Isaiah Dennis is still recovering from the finger. And I almost called you Coach RL. That leads me to ask you, you know what, Coach RL today, here we go. You know, I know a lot of people were very concerned with Derek Dixon not playing in the blue-white scrimmage, especially with all the kind of building noise around him that he's going to play a prominent role in this rotation. Was he able to go in the parts of practice you saw, and did he look like a full participant?
Yeah, he looked like a full participant. It's hard to tell in those drills like that.
Sure.
And, he looked fine out there today.
That's good news. I think that's the comfort that all Tar Heels need to know, that it was like precautionary. And so we'll see if he plays in that Cherokee scrimmage coming up next weekend. RL, one of the things I know a lot of people have been concerned with is Elliot Cadeau's out the door to Michigan. So there's not this like true pass first Kendall Marshall point guard. But it sounds like, you know, that Kyan Evans has been working really hard on that, but that there's a lot of guys that can be playmakers for this team in various ways. You talked about that passing drill and getting it moving. From seeing the way the guys are moving in a drill like that, do you get the impression that this team's going to be able to do it maybe point guard by committee a little bit?
Yes, and Caleb Wilson will tell you also that he's a pretty good passer. So I think there are. I mean, I think there are a lot of players who aren't guards who will be good passers. Veesaar might be one of them. But yeah, I mean, there's several guards that are going to be able to help. And I don't think it's going to be a one-man show like it was for the most part last year with Elliott.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's too big of a concern.
And it's so good to, like, obviously you want guards that can do it, you want wings who can do it, but when you have capable passing big men, like I think back to DJ Burns for that NC State team that won the ACC tournament a couple years ago, part of what made them so lethal was his ability to just pick you apart from the inside. We as Carolina folks saw that firsthand in that championship game. And I'm not saying that either Henri or Caleb or Jarin Stevenson are going to be at that level, but man, when you have big men who are capable of sharing like that, boy, it changes some of that inside out game, RL.
Also, big men who are capable of hitting the perimeter shot, which DJ Burns couldn't do. And that's going to open up the middle. You know, if the opposing center has to come out and get him if he doesn't switch. So that's going to open up passing lanes as well.
As well as like that makes Seth Trimble all the more effective, because then he's got all the more space to operate and get to the rim as well. Not just him, obviously, but he's the primary example probably there. Now, RL, I know you guys had some opportunity. You mentioned Caleb Wilson. You guys had an opportunity to chat with him on Thursday. What were some of your takeaways from the conversation with Caleb Wilson?
Well, he's come off very impressed with how smart he is, how hard he works, and his infectious personality. Just talking to students, ask him a little bit about that, talking to students on campus. He's not one of these 5-star recruits that might have his nose up. He knows that students might be uncomfortable when a basketball player is around, so he makes a point of talking to everybody and making him feel comfortable. So just a heck of a nice guy. But he was impressive in the press conference. How many 18-year-olds are going to bring up that they love learning about philosophers and they read the Daily Stoic every day? Not many.
That's not me, RL.
I mean, that 18-year-olds might have their minds on a lot of things. I don't think that's what it is. And then he talked about not only how hard he worked in the summer, but how much he studies video. He talked about looking at videos of guys like Marcus Smart and Tony Allen and how they play defense, and when they're trying to attempt steals. He mentions that you never want to swipe down because you want to swipe up so the referee doesn't see you hit referee sees that you don't hit the arm.
That's right.
So it's like a science on how to play defense and how to go about steals. He's just not just guessing on how to do it or being haphazard about it. He's trying to do it in a way that won't create a foul. But the money quote, I'll just read it from you.
Says, I love it.
I'm here to make myself a legend and win a bunch of games. I didn't commit to Carolina to come here and go to karaoke night. I came here to be a great basketball player. There you go.
That's incredible stuff. I mean, legitimately though, RL, you talk about reading the daily stuff, and it's like even the savvy to have been studying, to even A, care about defense, and B, study how to do it in a way that can manipulate the eyes of the referees in his favor. Like, that belies his 18 years old. And I love the combination of, like, it feels like he's got this high level of maturity as a basketball player, but he's still just a kid enjoying college life and doing it. And what a perfect balance. And I can't wait to see how he helps lead this team and how other guys fall in line beside him. And I love that it's not just going to be Seth having to lead the way, that he's got other guys coming around him. Now, RL, speaking of Seth Trimble, Henri Veesaar, coach, all at ACC Tip-off earlier this week. What did we learn? And why on earth is NC State transfer Darrion Williams hating on Hubert Davis? We got no time for that, and we'll get to that and more in just a second. Right after I tell you about DoorDash, y'all, it's the weekend and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, this player delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Unfortunately, there's not really anyone I can highlight from Carolina's game against Clemson, so we'll go to the game that happened after that one, the blue and white scrimmage. We just talked about him. Caleb Wilson, man, he's going to deliver in a big way. He can get whatever shot he wants, whenever he wants. This dude is electric. When the pressure is on, Caleb Wilson is going to come through, no hesitation and no delay. Man, and just like Wilson delivers for the Tar Heels and is going to all season long, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, and the promo period runs all the way through November 18th. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Just pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the FanDuel app. And when you use FanDuel, whether it's parlays, player props, even jumping in on the action live, it makes watching football all the more exciting because you got something a little extra riding in on it. So whether you're a casual fan, maybe you're like a dork like me and you love the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. How about some ACC regular season championship odds, which are now out at FanDuel? Duke leads the way at plus 155, followed by Louisville at plus 220, and Carolina plus 700, and NC State after that at plus 750. If you want to get in on that action or anything else, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the app and get started today. Tuesday afternoon, the men Tar Heels were on the dais to talk to the media. Hubert Davis talking first, and then giving way to Seth Trimble, and then finally Henri Veesaar, who was way too tall for the podium and tried to get Coach Davis to then give a closing remark. It was very hilarious. But RL, I want to ask you, and maybe it's even in line with some of what you saw at practice on Thursday, what's kind of your biggest takeaway from what the three gentlemen had to say?
Well, I mean, I think that they all truly think they have the tools for an outstanding season now that the height concerns of a year ago are gone. And there's so many perimeter shooters. I mean, they all talked about how spacing will be better with the inside presence of Henri Veesaar and more three-point shooters. I mean, you got Luka, Bogavac, Seth, Jonathan Powell, Caleb Wilson, Isaiah Dennis, Jaden Young, Ian Evans, Jarin Stevenson. I mean, all those guys can shoot it at a high clip on outside the arc. And but Seth, among others, said the biggest difference for last season is that he says there won't be corner sitting shooters, just standing there waiting for the ball. Nobody's sitting on the block and everybody moving around the court, and it will be a more free-flowing offense. So I'm eager to see that. And obviously, Hubert has the players to play a lot of them. Whether he does that or not, that is another question, and I'm eager to see that. I hope he does. But and then Henri pointed out that they'll be able to have 5 players out there shooting the perimeter shot, and that makes it easier for the guards to drop to the basket.
Man, it's so interesting what you said about the corner sitting three, because every time I watched Alabama the last 2 years, it felt like that's where Jarin Stevenson was relegated to. I'm really curious to see how Carolina deploys him differently than Nate Oates did. I love Nate Oates. I think he's a phenomenal basketball coach and like revolutionary in a lot of ways. But I think there's more to Jarin's game than we saw in Tuscaloosa, RL, and I'm just excited to see what that looks like.
Right, and I'm no fan of Alabama's style, by the way. I just don't think it's interesting basketball myself. But yeah, he will probably have more freedom than he had at Alabama. I mean, I don't know that he's the most athletic guy in the world,
Sure,
but he has a good skill set, and he ought to be able to help out a lot. I'm talking about Veesaar. We all noticed in the blue-white game that he might not be the most physical center. And I asked him about that, and he had pretty much admitted as much. And I was asking him, what do you do against physical defenders?
yeah.
So he basically said, maybe give him a little bump to keep him off balance, use his quick feet, and maybe put up a floater or a hook shot to make use of his length. So he's got a strategy for dealing with that, because that there's going to be some matchups where the guy's going to be a lot more physical than he is, and at least he's got a strategy to deal with it.
And I think that's one of the things, like, so for example, RL, we're talking about Carolina's superior height that they have now, contrasted with NC State that basically has a front court the size that Carolina had last year, with Van Allen Lubin as the starting five, Darrion Williams, who's 6'6", as the starting four. But those guys have more girth, right? They weigh more than Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar. And so that's going to be the thing, right? Height, I should say, doesn't necessarily equate to better. But if there's more savvy in what you do, and if you're able, as you said earlier, to draw them away, that's all going to translate well. RL, one of the things you mentioned when we were texting earlier this week is basically how loose Coach Davis, Seth, Henri all seemed to be. And I think externally, you and I see this in the media. We've probably even talked about it ourselves, how much external pressure there is on Coach Davis to have a good season this year. We obviously haven't heard from Bubba or even Steve Newmark what their thoughts and plans are, and that's what ultimately matters. But in what seems to be potentially a make or break year for Hubert Davis, RL, I think your perception is that he seems to not be affected of it at all.
Well, that Hubert doesn't spend a second on social media, that's for sure. But he's probably heard some of the framing from people outside of the program saying it's a crucial, like you said, make or break season for him. But boy, you could tell by how loose he was there, joking demeanor. He didn't look like he had a care in the world, and he just looked confident in the team he has. And if you watch the main press conference, they've got a pretty good bond between those three. They were joking around about, like you said, closing statements, because Hubert Davis never gives an opening statement, but they ask him to do one, and he gives one sentence.
It was so short, yeah.
There's a reason he doesn't do opening statements, because he doesn't like to do them. But Hubert was really good. I thought he was better than he was last season at Tip-off, and I think it may be the fact that he knows that these guys are going to rebound better. These guys are taller. Well, we know that part, that they're taller, but he thinks they're going to rebound better. And obviously both of those were very sore spots for him last season. He kept on preaching, rebounding is not about height, but boy, it sure helps.
Oh boy, does it ever help. Yeah, I mean, even the exchange between he and Seth back and forth about his Ben and Jerry's store. I mean, it's great, like Coach Davis is calling out Seth pushing right back. It's like it's clear what a real and honest relationship they share together. And obviously that's been forged throughout Seth's entire career, and even all the way back to JP's time. But even with Henri, they shared a really free and easy bond with Henri joking around with his coach. And that's just, it's so good and healthy to see. Is it going to translate to wins on the court? I don't know, but I love to see a free and loose team. And that seems to me to be a good sign. Now, one of the weird things that happened, and we saw this in multiple moments, is that NC State's new coach, Will Wade, was talking about how we need to focus on us. We don't need to focus on Carolina. We don't need to focus on Duke. And then on the other hand, here's Darrion Williams focusing on Carolina. And apparently he's like, he said, I hate UNC and I don't like how their coach treated my former teammate Kerwin Walton and my new teammate Van Allen Lubin, and basically came out and said, I don't like Hubert Davis. RL, he's like the nicest man in the world. How do you not like Hubert Davis? Come on.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Obviously, he's getting one side of the story and hasn't heard the other side. And he doesn't want to hear the other side. So,
because we all saw how that played out, right? Like,
right.
Kerwin couldn't defend my mom, and Van Allen had his opportunity to stay at Tar Heel, but he's the one that elected to go in the transfer portal right at the end and try to manipulate things for the way he wanted it.
He could have very well gotten backup minutes at Carolina, but he wants to start, and apparently that's what he's going to do at NC State. So that probably was a good move in that regard for him.
Another
year, another school.
Another school. Fourth school in 4 years. Here's my thought, RL, is Darrion Williams said that I think what was the quote? He mistreated Ven. And I think the time we're going to see Coach Davis mistreat Ven is going to be in February, whenever it is that Carolina's at the Lenovo Center. That's when he's going to mistreat him.
Right. Yeah, we'll see how that. I mean, obviously, Ben's going to be highly motivated for that.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a fun game.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun game. All right. RL was also in attendance for the women's team, who was at ACC Tip-off on Monday of this week. So Coach Banghart and the women's team there. Alyssa Ustby is gone. It feels like a new era as we get into 25-26. How are these ladies rebuilding? We'll ask RL about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, this episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's just not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep the game moving forward. For me, this week's moment that moved the game forward is also thinking back to that blue-white scrimmage and seeing Carolina's revamped front court. After all the frustration of the lack of size last year, to see a massive Henri Veesaar and a massive Caleb Wilson defending the rim, protecting the paint, and giving the guards all the opportunity they want to guard out in space. Boy, it's going to be a whole different season in that regard, and that is moving the game forward. Because when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, RL, it feels like Coach Courtney Banghart's team has been making steps forward just about every season. It's crazy to think now how long Coach Banghart has been here. Feels like Alyssa's been there just about as long, and she's gone. Just one of those players, that just really felt like the heart and soul of this team for so long. And now that's out the door. And Carolina needs to, they've got a bunch of returning players, but need to start over in some ways. RL, what did you learn from Coach Banghart and the ladies on Monday?
Well, I think the big key for the women is going to be whether Sierra Toomey or Blanca Thomas are able to make the sophomore jump.
Yeah.
After losing Maria Gakti. I mean, they both played fewer than 11 minutes per game. Toomey struggled in both ends. And Thomas was excellent on defense, but looked lost on offense.
Yeah.
One of those two is going to have to step up and play better. That will be a big weakness if that doesn't happen. They're going to both need to play well. It would be a key to helping the team rebound well, because they lost one of the best rebounders in program history in Alyssa Ustby.
Yeah, that's right.
Who's there for 5 years. Gosh. But filling Ustby's spot, but not, you can't replace her, but filling her spot would be Louisville transfer Nyla Harris, who's 6'2", and she may end up having to play some at the 5 spot if we don't see those sophomore jumps. So, but because the front court issue, front court is a concern. Back court is not. They've got plenty of talented guards. Of the 10 newcomers, Harris is the only front court player. I mean, they've got 4 freshmen wings, Lisa Usakova from Russia.
Yes.
That's my attempt there. 5-star Nyla Brooks, 5-star Talee Henderson, 4-star Tysa Kiros. May not have that wrong. But Brooks is the biggest impact player of that group. She really is a high energy player and is going to make a real impact. And a key addition in the backcourt is a UCLA transfer, Finnish point guard, Elena Arnisolo.
Yes.
Good thing I only have to spell these. But she has a reputation as a flashy passer.
Yeah.
She was part of a Final Four team, supposed to be a high IQ player. And that'll allow Renaya Kelly to play off the ball. And I was talking to Renaya about that.
Yeah.
And her face lit up. She can't wait to play off the ball because she's a great 3-point shooter, and that takes more advantage of that. She injured her right knee, missed several games toward the end. And when she came back, she just wasn't the same player.
Yeah.
But hopefully she'll be back full speed now.
To be fair, RL, props to you for even working to try to pronounce the last names. Coach Banghart won't even say them. She just says the first name. Is like, I'm not messing with that. So at least you're out here getting a C for courage, you know? So props to you in that regard. Yeah, you know, Renaya Kelly, India Navarro, obviously they're at ACC Tip-off with Coach Banghart. Did you get a feel, you know how, like you talked about with Coach Davis, you got the sense that he feels really good about this team just by how loose he was. Did you get a sense about how Coach Banghart feels about her crew? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think she's confident, but she kind of subtly suggested that they may take some bumps early because they have to play UCLA.
Yeah.
They in Las Vegas, they play South Carolina in an exhibition game, but she thinks it's more important for them to play tough competition early to learn what they need to do better. And that'll certainly help. But I mean, you throw NC State, Duke, and Carolina in there, and they're probably top 3 in any order. I mean, I would have to put Duke as the favorite, but Carolina and State will be right up there. And I think by the time January rolls around, all that, you know, there's a lot of chemistry to get right with so many. They got 11 new players.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more than the men. So,
which is saying something.
right. So, yeah. So there's probably going to be some chemistry issues early in the season, and working out those chemistry issues by playing the first other team and having that be in an exhibition against South Carolina. That'll get your attention.
That'll get your attention in a quick hurry, RL. All right. So all eyes on the front court and how they can gel. We think there's a lot of great backcourt pieces, but man, got to develop depth. Got to see some sophomore jumps from the ladies. Excited to tune into what's happening in Carmichael. And RL, for those of you who don't know, does a phenomenal job covering the women's basketball team, the most in-depth coverage you can get out there. So make sure you're tuned into Tar Heel Tribune for all things, but in particular, the women's basketball as well. All right, let's go to our weekend whip around quickly. Obviously, no football game this week. The guys are on the road at Cal next week on Friday, and we'll see who's there. I don't know. RL, the biggest thing upcoming this weekend is field hockey, man. They've got a massive weekend ahead. Today, Friday, ACC Network Extra, 5 p.m. at number 2 Virginia. Remember, the ladies fell a spot after they lost to Wake from 2-3. So we got a top 3 matchup here in Charlottesville tonight. Massive implications. And then on Sunday, the ladies host number 19 Louisville, noon on ACC Network. So again, a massive weekend for field hockey. For soccer, each team has one matchup. Men are out of conference hosting St. Thomas tomorrow on ACC Network Extra at 6. The ladies on Sunday are at number 14 Duke. We know how crazy those battles are. That's 1 p.m. on ESPNU. Volleyball also in action this weekend down in the South at Clemson today, 6 p.m. on ACC Network Extra, and then at Georgia Tech on Sunday, 1 p.m. also on ACC Network Extra. RL, not everything's up and running, but we're going to get winter sports pretty soon. But, man, there's some good stuff going as always. And that volleyball team's cruising along. Field hockey's doing it as always. Massive matchups for them.
Yeah, good figure. Eric Madsen has them as one of the best field hockey teams in the country. Who would have expected that?
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah.
Good night. Lots of fun there. Guys, make sure, again, just want to remind you, linked in the show notes is RL's footage from practice on Thursday, all 18 minutes of that, minus the first 7 of stretching. We thank you, as does the YouTube algorithm, for not including that. As RL said, he's going to be looking to get that scrimmage footage up from the Cherokee scrimmage next Saturday, so keep your eyes out for that. Planning with Coach Rob probably to do another live rewatch like we did last Sunday. That was a lot of fun to do that in real time and kind of have a director's cut commentary. Make sure you go follow all the great work at Tar Heel Tribune. RL is always on top of it, man. He is absolutely dialed into everything that's going on. Give him a follow on Twitter at RL_Bynum, BYNUM. If you're not subscribed to Locked on Tar Heels, do that right now as well so you don't miss a second of our show. If you haven't joined the Locked on Tar Heels Discord or Insiders, we'd love to see you there. That link is also in the show notes. As always, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again on Monday, but until then, peace.